You may have heard that Congressional Republicans have been trying for months to make cuts to Medicaid. Well, last week we finally got a look at the specifics, and I regret to inform you that it is not great. Pretty bad, actually. To put it simply, an analysis by the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, the nonpartisan sort of budget scorecard people, found that this plan would kick about 7.6 million people off their health insurance by kicking them off Medicaid. Why do it? Because Republicans in Congress are trying to find $880 billion to cut over the next 10 years. They need all that in order to pay for an extension of Trump's 2017 tax law. And the only way they can find that money is by cutting the military spending budget, which they're not going to do, or by cutting popular programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. For context, in Nevada, about 800,000 people are on Medicaid. Of those, 368,000 are on Medicaid because of the Medicaid Expansion as part of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. As a refresher, the ACA and the court rulings that followed meant that states could choose to expand Medicaid by raising the income threshold to qualify for it to 138% of the federal poverty line. To cover it, the federal government agreed to foot 90% of the cost of these new enrollees. But now, when we talk about these new cuts, at least $300 billion of these cuts would be implemented through new work requirements. On the one hand, not only will these work requirements not actually cut down on so-called fraud or abuse, because it turns out that most people who are on Medicaid and can work are already working. Fascinating. But on the other hand, we actually have data from Arkansas that when you implement these kinds of work requirements, all you end up doing is kicking people who genuinely qualify for Medicaid off Medicaid without increasing employment rates. This bill is still being debated as of probably right now, and it's not clear what exactly it's going to look like in its final form. But what we do know is that Medicaid is going to be one of the biggest sticking points. Heck, there were even multiple protests at the Capitol last week over Medicaid, including one that ended with one of the co-founders of Ben & Jerry's getting arrested, but that's kind of a side story, kind of a side thing. But what we do know is that these federal budget cuts are not going to happen without Medicaid cuts going hand in hand. And if Congress votes to cut Medicaid, it's not a question if millions of people are going to lose their health insurance. It's a guarantee.